Hello, everybody. Hello.
How many people on there?
Nobody yet. But I'm just gonna tell a story because
And
I
then
needed
post it
to.
on YouTube.
Yeah, I needed to tell a story. Okay, so hello, everybody. If you're new here, thank you for clicking on this video. And if you are not new here, you really fucks with me, huh? Okay, so today, well, right now, I am gonna do a story time, and this story time is about the time that I was almost Milo. You can't do that, baby. Because I'm recording. That's loud. You need to go get headphones or something.
Hold on, guys.
Go get the ones out of my thing. Okay, so today I am gonna do the story time about the time I was almost taken advantage of going to see my boyfriend at um freak 17 years old. I was 17 years old. Okay, so I'm just gonna start the story time out about like how my day started. So basically, how this story starts out, it starts out that day. It was kind of weird. The whole day, I had people stopping me. Like I had got out of what is it called? Freak. I had got out of after school, whatever it's called, when you're not going to regular school. I had GED classes or whatever because I had just signed out from regular school because I had missed school or whatever. So I had dropped out from regular school and I was going to GED classes at Brainerd School, and then this happened after I had got out of my GED classes, which my GED classes were after hours at school. So this was like about 5 or 6 o'clock, 6 or so in the afternoon. So, but the whole day I had people like telling me, "Hey, your boyfriend at the time, hey, D wants you. Hey, D's looking for you. It's important. D's looking for you." I had walked to the store. People up there were like, "Hey, D been looking for you all day. D looking for you." I get home, come find out he had came by the house. My mom was like, "Hey, D looking for you or whatever," and I'm like, "Dang, everybody saying D looking for me." And y'all, it's hot out here. We're outside in the car. It's hot out here. I can't do this in the house because everybody loud.
You gotta get ready for school and everything.
What she said. So everybody's like, D looking for you, D looking for you, D looking for you. So when I got home and my mom was like, "Hey, your boyfriend looking for you," I was like, "Well, damn, let me go over here and see what's up, what's going on. So I was like, I'm gonna go over here and see what's going on or whatever. So I go walk over to where he lives at. He didn't live too far from us, which isn't far from where we live at right now. Honestly, we lived on the next street. We lived directly on the next street on the corner, and he lived on freak City Code is the street he lived on at the end, in some apartments or whatever. So I go over that way, but before I go to his house, I'm like, I'm gonna go to my homegirl house and I'm gonna check on my babies, which my babies are the twins, Chessie and Charity. They're 18. Oh my god, they're not babies anymore. But anyway, so yeah. I went over her house first and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go over here to Davizir's house. Well, excuse me, Dee's house, because everybody is telling me that Dee's looking for me." Y'all, if y'all hear barking, I'm sorry. The barking is better than the barking going on in my house. But everybody's like, I go over her and I'm like telling her everybody's telling me D been looking for me all day. So I tell her that and I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna come back here because I'm gonna come and get the twins. I'm gonna come and pick up the twins from school or whatever." And she's like, "Okay, just come over when you're done." So I expected to be over at hello. I expected to be over at Dee's house for a while, because I mean he was my boyfriend, so I kind of expected to be over there for a second. Mind you, he had he had been looking for me all day, so that's the reason why I was going over there. So I go to walk over his house. In the midst of me walking, oh shoot, I should have said this at first. Well, let me just go ahead and say this. In the midst of me walking over to his house, there's a guy that lived a couple apartments ahead in front of his, well, a couple apartments down from his apartment, is a guy that lived there, and this guy wasn't isn't mentally all there, you know. Um, it I had braided his hair a couple of days before this, and the his cousins had been talking about him, you know, not being there and having a crush on me or whatever. And I'm not thinking nothing of it. Like, I'm not thinking nothing of this man. He's weird, true enough, but I'm not thinking nothing of him. I'm not in fear of him or any of that or whatever. So as I'm going to Dee's house, the guy's hair that I had braided a couple of days before was like, "Hey, you going to Dee's house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going over there." He was like, "Well, let him know that to come by here when y'all done or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." He was like, "When you come over here with him because I need to ask you something or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm just like, well, maybe he wants his hair braided again, or just wants to like schedule this time to get his hair braided, or like, you know, I don't know. Just not thinking much of it. I'm 17 at the time, not thinking much of it. 17 or 18, one of the two. But so I'm not thinking nothing of it. So I go to Dee's house, I knock on the door, bang on the door, nobody answers the door. And like, I knock on it a good couple times, nobody answers the door. I knocked on it, I stood there for a second because like his mom is Mexican or whatever. His mom is Mexican or whatever. So like, and I don't know. I just kind of figured maybe she didn't hear me, or if she heard me, she didn't understand what I was saying. So I was like, well, let me give her a second. My she was kind of old too, so I was like, let me just give them a second just in case somebody is there, and it's just taking them a while to get there. I went and knocked on the windows and everything or whatever. Nobody came to the door. Nobody came to the door. So I'm like, I think YouTube had my whole name on here. I think so too. I think so too. But yeah, so nobody comes to the door. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna go over here and see what he wanted for a sec. Well, that's not what I was gonna. That's not. Let me rephrase that, because that's not what happened. When he asked me to come over, I was he asked me to come over with my boyfriend. So in the midst of me going back, I went and knocked on the door, and I was like, hey, they're not there or whatever. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go or whatever to my homegirl. Well, that's not how it happened either. It was like, okay, yeah, this was a long time ago. So let me get my shit straight. Okay, so when I walked over there, he was like, well, tell the officer that I'm looking for him. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, hey, stop by here on your way. He was like, stop by here on your way back out. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go over there, knock on the door, nobody answers. On my way out, I go back over there, I knock on the door, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Seeing what he wanted. And he was like, hey, just come in for a second. And I was like, not thinking nothing of it. So I'm like, okay. Okay, whatever. So when I come in the door, I come straight in the door, and I sit on the couch that was right beside the door. And mind you, his mom is almost always at home. So I kind of figured she was there, or whatever. So I come in, I sit right there, and he was like, when he came in, he walked straight back to like a little den area that they had or whatever. So he comes in, he goes straight back in there, and I sat there, and I'm like, so what's up? Talking loud to make sure he can hear me, to see what he wanted or whatnot, whatever. Mind you, I just braided his hair. I didn't think nothing of him. He had been kind of creepy, and I know he had a crush on me, but like he never even really talked to me other than when he asked me to braid his hair a couple of days before. So, and every time I had been around him, it had always been in a group of people with his cousins or with my boyfriend D at the time, with their people or whatnot, whatever. So when he walked off to the den, he's like, I'm like, so what's up? What do you need or whatever? And he's in his den, and he's like, hey, come here. And I'm like, no, I'm okay. What's up? What's going on? And he's like, no, just come here for a second. I want to show you something. So I get up and I go back there, and I'm like, come in the room. He shows me his games and the stuff that they had up. Mind you, he's slow, and so like his mentality wasn't on the age level that he is. He was in his late 20s, I believe. His late 20s, early 30s at that time, and I was 17, 18 at the time. So, but his mentality wasn't the way he was talking about the games. He was talking to me about the games like a 10, 14-year-old would talk to you about being excited about getting a new game. So that's how he was talking to me about the games. And so I'm talking to him back about the games because I mean, I've been around him. I know his mental status, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not in fear of this man. You know, I don't think that this man is going to do anything or whatever. So he's talking to me about his games, and I'm like, oh, cool, that's neat, that's what's up, that's nice, you know, whatnot about the games. And he's just talking or whatnot, whatever. And then I'm like, well, you know, what's up? What did you need? You know? And he's still kind of very vague and doesn't really answer my question about what he wanted me to come for. Mind you, she's heard this story before. So she already knows this story. I've talked to my kids about almost everything that has happened to me because I want my kids to be vigilant and I want them to understand that anything can happen at any point in time. And I was a very good kid with a very good head on my shoulders, and these things had happened to me. So I talk to my children about what's happened to me so they can be aware that regardless of how good a child you is, how good of a girl you are, how much you don't put yourself out there, it can still happen. So she's heard this story before. But anyway, so I was talking to him about that or whatnot, whatever, and he's excited about his games or whatnot, whatever. And the next thing I notice, he kind of gets up like he's walking out the room. So I get up and I go in the living room. But before I could go to the living room, he kind of cuts me from going to the living room. He's like, go in there, which is a room straight across. Okay. So it's like, there's a room here. This is the room that we're in. We're in the doorway of this room. It's a room right ahead. The living room and stuff is right on this side, and the bathroom is right on this side. So 4 ways or whatever. So room, bathroom, living room. I was trying to go to the living room, and he kind of cuts me from going there. As I'm kind of on this side, he cuts me from going there, and he's like, go over there, I want to show you something. I'm gonna show you something else. And I'm like, no, I need to get ready to go. I got Angela's waiting on me. I need to get ready to go because I had went to Angela's house before. So I was like, no, I need to go to Angela's waiting on me. And he was like, it'll be quick. And I'm like, I need to really go, so I'm trying to go out the door. And he kind of, honestly, I don't know how I ended up in the room. I have no idea how I ended up in the room from being in the den. I literally went from the den doorway trying to go to the living room to him saying something about going in the room and me being like, well, I have to get to Angela's. I was just coming to see what you needed, and it went from me being there trying to get into the living room to him literally forcing me into that room. And I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain how it was. But he literally forced me into the room. And so I get there, and he was like, well, just have a seat. And I'm like, no, I really need to get ready to go. Angela's waiting on me. I really need to go. And then next thing I know, I don't remember. Next thing I know, he's literally forcing me on the bed, and then he's on top of me. And I start screaming, and I am screaming at the top of my lungs, and I'm thinking his mom is there. So I'm screaming for help, and mind you, this is kind of, at this point in time, nobody was outside, and normally there would people be around in that area, especially in the front of those apartments. There would be people that would sit outside, hang out or whatnot, whatever. I don't know what it was about this day, but the area that we were in was totally dead. There were no people out there. Nobody was hanging out. It just was nobody there. And his mom wasn't at the house, and I had no idea she was there, because if I would have knew she wasn't there, I would not have went in. She's normally there. Like, I never had not known her to be at that house. When we would be outside, and I would be outside with my boyfriend, and all the guys would be outside, she's normally standing at that door, trying to see what the fuck's going on. So I thought she was there. If I would have knew she wasn't in the house, I wouldn't have went into that house. I wouldn't have went to that apartment. But he literally forces me on the bed, and then he's on top of me. And in the midst of him being on top of me, he's trying to kiss me and touch me and like, just, it just was but yeah, he's trying to do all this, and I'm literally screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm screaming so loud, and I don't know what happened. I don't know where his mom went or what she was doing. All I know is if whatever she forgot something, and if she would not have forgot what she forgot, it's no telling what he would have did to me. Luckily, she forgot what she forgot, and she came in the beginning of. She came in the midst of him being on top of me and me screaming. Like, she was unlocking the door as he's trying to kiss me and touch me. She's unlocking the door, and she hears me screaming, and you can hear her at the door, like, hollering inside what's going on. You can hear her like at what's going on, because she can hear me inside screaming, and she's trying to unlock the door, and that just makes me holler even more, and that just makes me scream even more. And then she finally gets in, and when she gets in the door, she comes, drops all her stuff. I remember running out the door, and all her stuff was at the front of the door. And when she comes in, she's like, she comes in and she runs to the room, and she's like, let her go, let her go. What the hell are you doing to her? Why the hell are you on her? Let her go. What are you doing to her? Why are you on her? Get off of that girl. Get off of that girl. Get off of that baby. What the hell are you doing? Get the fuck off of her. Get the fuck off of her. And he doesn't get off of me. He literally takes, and he kind of, I don't know how to explain it, like his body kind of shifted to look at her. And in the midst of him shifting to look at her, he's like telling her to get the fuck on, take your ass the fuck on. But when he did that, I'm like, I'm gonna explain it, like, his body is shifted, right? His body is shifted while he's on top of me. I take my arms and I push, and when I push up, and I crawl up, and I literally climb over him and jump up and out. I don't know how to explain it. Up and off the bed. Like, I damn near broke my ankles because the way I went to push him, and I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it. Like, his top of his half was the only part that shifted. You know what I'm saying? So when I pushed him off of me, I still had his bottom half that I had to pull my legs from under, and I crawled over. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but I literally crawled over him and ran to his mom. And when I ran toward because his mom was at the door. When I ran toward at the door, his mom was there, and she kind of hugged me, and she was like, "Are you okay, baby? Did he do anything to you? Are you okay, baby?" And I'm like, I'm fine. And I'm like, I just want to go. And she's like in the midst of her hugging me, "Are you okay, baby? I'm trying to get out. I just want to go. I'm fine. I just want to go." So I go, and I get out, and that's when I see all her stuff, that her keys are still in the door. Like, she heard me at the door screaming, and she got in there as quick as she possibly could from her. The comment that just came up, I don't know what it says. I can't read it, so I'll read it in a second. But it flashed off real fast. But I run out the door, and I run to Angela's house. And while I was running to Angela's house, Angela was talking to his cousin, and his cousin, we're gonna call his cousin T. So Angela's standing there, she's talking to his cousin, and I am bawling, crying. Like, I am running to her house, bawling, crying. And she's like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" She's thinking me and my boyfriend D had got into a fight or something like that. And I'm like, trying to explain to her, no, that is not what happened or whatnot, whatever. So she finally calms me down, and I'm like, I don't even remember his name. The guy that did that to me, I can't even remember his name. I don't think I knew his name at that point in time, honestly. But I mean, we weren't friends. I had just braided his hair a couple of days before. That was literally the only interaction me and this man had, and he had mental disabilities. So I just never, had any interaction with him. The first time him speaking to me was him asking me to braid his hair. And so I'm telling Angela about him and what he did or whatever. I'm glad you got out of the situation, because it could have been way worse, right? And so I was telling Angela what happened, and his cousin standing there. And when I'm telling, is that Auntie them in the living room? You see the light?
Yeah, that's Auntie. She doing something on her phone.
Oh, and so I'm telling Angela what happened, and his cousin T standing there, and they're listening to me. And his cousin T had a homeboy with him as well. And next thing I know, they take off. And I explained what happened, and the fact that his mama got in, and when his mama, if his mama wouldn't have got in, like, then he would have raped me. I don't think I can say that word on here. He would have took advantage of me. I'm sorry if I can't say that word on here. I'm sorry, but he would have did what he could have done to me and he was a big guy. He literally had me down on that bed, and I couldn't move. If his mom wouldn't have came in and took his attention from me to lift up, I couldn't get up. I couldn't, and I wasn't nothing but like 80, 90 pounds back then. Like, this man was at least 200 pounds, if not more. Like, the guy was big, and he was like on me. Hello. If his mom wouldn't have came in, if it's no telling what he would have did to me. And mind you, he wasn't mentally there as well. He had the mental capacity of a teenager, and he's in his late 20s, early 30s. He had the mental capacity of a teenager. It's no telling what he could have did to me. He could have taken advantage of me and then felt like he wanted to kill me. He could have did anything to me. If his mom wouldn't have came in when she did, like, I could not be here today. But when I ran to Angela's and I told them what happened, and when his cousin T and the homeboy ran off, they ran off to go over there they beat his ass. They beat him bloody. They beat him bad. Like, they beat the shit out of that man. And I remember them telling me that I need to call the cops. And I was like, he didn't do anything. I felt so bad because he was mentally not there. I didn't think at this point, me at this age, I feel like I should have called the cops. But at that age, I was thinking to myself, I went in the house. Ain't nobody gonna believe me that, they probably gonna think that I was trying to, seduce this man or take advantage. It ain't no telling. But they beat that man silly. And I felt so bad for him after the fact. And that's my biggest problem, of feeling bad for people that are trying to hurt me. When I did that when my sister barged in our house like she did, and I knocked her teeth out, I felt bad for that. And I shouldn't feel bad for these people that are trying to hurt me. Like, I hate that I have that type of mentality, and that I feel bad for people that are trying to hurt me, that are hurting me. You know what I'm saying? I hate that I'm like that, but I know I can't help it. But I remember them telling me to call the cops, and I didn't call the cops. And mind you, they're telling me to call the cops after they just beat his ass. I'm sorry, y'all. It's a helicopter. We live right beside a hospital. I don't know if y'all can see it. I don't know if y'all can see it, but
Mom, it's not even that high up.
I know it ain't never that high up. I don't know if y'all can see there or not, but we live right beside a hospital, so that's the helicopter for the hospital. But I felt bad because they had just beat his ass. Mind you, I had went back over Davizier's. Damn, I keep saying his name. I kept going back over Dee's house. I went back over Dee's house later that day, but Angela walked with me. And when we went over there later that day, because Angela was like, he needs to know. Angela was like, he needs to know what he just tried to do to you. And because I wasn't going to say anything, Angela was like, no, hell no. You're going to tell him what the fuck he just tried to do to you. And I was like, well, T&M just took care of it. And she was like, no, you're going to tell him what the fuck happened. We not doing that, da-da-da this and da-da-da that. Angela was not going. She was like, you finna tell him what the fuck happened. So Angela walks over there with me, and when we walk over there, he's outside, and his cousins and mom, and it's a group of other men out there, and they're all like, I don't know how to explain it, interrogating him, like threatening him. I don't know how to explain it. Like, they're threatening him, interrogating him, trying to figure out why he did it. Like, they're trying to talk to him and get him to be like, to say why he would get me to come not lure me in there, because I went in there. Let me not say lure, because that's not what happened. I went in there like a dummy. But they're trying to get out of him. Why would he do it? You know what I'm saying? Why would he call me in there to try to get me to, to try to take advantage of me or whatever? And he's not really saying nothing. He's just looking like, thank you for the heart. He's just looking like scared. You know, I don't know how to explain it. If you ever seen anybody with a mental disability that they're not, that their brain capability isn't where they look like their brain is a teenager but they are in their 30, 40-year old, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you ever seen somebody that they're literally in fear of their life, you know what I'm saying? Because these men literally just beat his ass. Like, he had blood dripping, he had knots. Like, when I tell you he had knots, he was fucked up. He was dirty from where they beat his ass and was kicking him in the ground. Like, he was fucked. They fucked him up. I feel bad enough for that. You know what I'm saying? And his mom the whole time was like, why would you do her like that? She's just a baby. She's just a baby. Why would you do that to her? Why would you do that to her? The whole time, that's all his mama is saying. His mama was crying. Like, when she seen me walk to Davizir, she came over and she was like, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? If you need to call the police, I understand. She was like, just do what you have to do. She was like, did he do anything to? She was trying to figure out. She literally wanted to make sure that he did not do anything to me, like sexually anything to me. And I was like, no ma'am. I was like, he didn't get a chance. You came in just in time. Like, he didn't get a chance to. So I said he was trying to kiss me, but other than that, he didn't get a chance to. You got in just in time. You came in just in time. And she asked me, like, how did I get in? And I told her, and I was like, well, he told me after I came from Davizier's or whatever, that he needs to ask me a question. And so I told her, you know, that he said he wanted to ask me a question and told me to come in for a second. And so I sat down on the couch. Well, I told her the same thing I just told you all. I told her all that. And she was like, okay, baby. She was like, it's not your fault. You know, just telling me all this, that, and other. Mind you, I would have thought she would have been a bitch about it, because she was one of them mean black ladies, like really mean black, short, chubby, short haircut. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. The mean old black lady with the adult son that lived with her, the adult son that not all there. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. We all got one of them in our neighborhoods. We all do. But anyway, like, I really thought she was gonna be like, yo, dumb ass shouldn't went to fuck in there in the first place, but she wasn't. She was really sweet about the whole situation, and she felt like I should have called the cops as well. And when I didn't, she was like, she just was. I want to say she was appreciative that I didn't, and she understood that I should. She understood that I could have. Yeah, I know what you mean. She understood that I could have called the cops, but she was like appreciative that I didn't. And so I talked to her and went to my boyfriends at the time, and I told him the situation and what happened. And I didn't want to tell it. I honestly didn't tell it. Angela told more of it than I did, because I was still crying at that point in time. I was 17 or 18. I can't remember if I was 17 or 18. I know I was, if I wasn't 17, I was 18. And if I was 17, I was about to turn 18. But when Angela was telling him about the situation, I'm just crying, because it's like, y'all, just shit just happened to me, and I felt like they interrogated me more than his people did. You know, his people beat his ass. It was his people that whooped his ass. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't my people, it was his people. And my boyfriend at the time, when Angela told him, he was mad. He was like, why the fuck did you go in there and all this, that, and other? And I'm like, I wasn't thinking nothing of it. Mind you, this boy is not all there. I'm not thinking he would even think to try to do something to me. But luckily, he didn't get to do anything to me. Luckily, his mom came in when she did, and I knew next time if a situation like that happened, to be smarter than that. And I hate that happened. And the reason why I'm telling this story is because shit like this happens every day. Shit like this happens every single day. And maybe my story can help a girl out one day to not walk into that house. Don't you walk into that house, girl. Especially if you don't know that person, don't you walk into that house, regardless of how you feel, regardless if you think, oh, they would never do something like that. You don't know that person. Don't you walk into that house. Don't you walk into that damn house. And if you do walk into that house, don't go nowhere from that front door. I just don't walk in the door in the first place. Don't walk in the door in the first place. Don't go in the door in the first place. But that's it. That's the story time. Thank you guys for listening. I greatly appreciate you all for being here. I'm gonna put out more content, more story times. I feel you. That's good. She wasn't mean as you look. Me as you look, you need some happiness in your life. Y'all, I've been through hell. Like, I've been through hell. I have a lot more story times. Hold on, Auntie, I'm recording.
It's okay. I just wanted to let you know.
I have a lot more story times and stuff.
So, you talk to him.
I have a lot more story times.
You don't have to say nothing.
What is she talking about? Yeah, I'm gonna get off here. I got a lot more story times to record. I plan on putting out more content, but as y'all see, I don't know if y'all heard that or not. My auntie is staying here, and she doesn't understand the concept of me recording. She's like, I was sitting there telling her, trying to get her attention, as y'all can see. Hold on, auntie, I'm recording. She tells me, it's okay, you don't have to say anything, okay, but I'm recording, and you speaking during my recording is kind of messing up my recording. But she still, I don't know how to explain it. Oh my God, I don't know how to explain it. Y'all, I'm going through a lot in this house right now. I'm going through a lot in this house right now. My cousin is staying here and my auntie is staying here, and I'm going through a lot. And the room that my cousin is in, you know what? The room that my cousin was in, my auntie is supposed to be in now because he left and he went with his boyfriend. And so now my auntie has been staying here from California, and she feel like he trying to take over the room, and he not, I don't know. He done took a fan that was in there. Mind you, everything that's in that room is his other than the bed and the cover. All the stuff that's in there, that's his crap. Like, the fans are his. Like, that's all his shit in there. They putting me in the middle of it, and I don't put me in the middle of it. Like, mind you, I'm not the one that told y'all to come stay. I didn't find out y'all were coming to stay until after the fact. You know? I can't find out when y'all... I found out my cousin Pat was coming to stay when he was here. I found out she was coming to stay when she was on the bus. Yeah, that's a tragic situation, especially hard to talk about at the moment. I've been through a lot, y'all. I've been through a lot. I have a lot more story times to talk about. A lot more story times to talk about. I think my next story time is going to be about my dad and the situation with him killing his mom. Because of, and the only at first I was gonna talk about it, and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna talk about it. And then I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it because my cousin called herself blasting it on Facebook the other day, talking about, well, bitch, your daddy killed his mama, da 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 this and da 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 that. And it's like, okay, your point. I've lived with that my entire life. That happened when I was 2 years old. So like, I've dealt with that hurt. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I've dealt with that hurt. Like, I've dealt with my grandma not being here. You know what I'm saying? I've dealt with having to hate my dad for what he did. You know what I mean? Like, I've dealt with that hurt. I've dealt with that hurt. That I've dealt with wondering in my head, how should I feel about my father? Should I love my father? Should I not love my daddy? Should I hate him for what he did? Should I not hate him for what he did? Do I you know, I don't know how to explain it. Do I forgive him for what he did? Do I not? Like, I've had people tell me I would never forgive. I had an ex-best friend tell me, I wouldn't even talk to my dad if he would have did some shit like that and da-da this and da-da that. And it's like, well, first of all, you don't even know the whole situation of what was even going on or what was going on with my dad or what mental state he was in. Mind you, my dad's a paranoid schizophrenic. So like, they don't know, you know, what was going on with all that. So they can't speak on my dad if they don't know what was going on with my dad at that point in time. And people on the outside looking in don't know what was going on with my dad at that time. They just want to speak on it. And mind you, my cousin wasn't even born at the time. So for her to be speaking on it, it's like, girl, bye. I've been there, done that. I've dealt with the hurt, the trying to figure out if I want to forgive him, if I don't want to forgive. I've been through all of that. And for you to bring it up trying to hurt me just made you look like an evil person at the end of the day, because I don't feel no type of way about it anymore. So what I am gonna do is speak about it. That might be my next story time, but I'm not sure. I think it might be my next story time, and I'm gonna own it because people are trying to put it out there like it's just a secret, because it's not a secret. You can look it up. As she looks, sorry, I missed the end of. I missed. As she. I'm sorry, I couldn't even look at that. Y'all, the ring light behind me is. I can't really see. I wear glasses as well. I can't really see y'all things, but I'm gonna reply back to y'all when I get off here, which I'm about to get off of here because I need to go figure out what's going on inside of the house. But like I said, that's probably gonna be my next story time. I might do it in the next couple of days. But if you guys are new here, thank you for clicking on this video. And if you're not new here, you really fucks with me, huh? Peace. How do I stop you? You gonna say bye, Mila? Mila, you gonna say bye? You gonna say bye? Are you gonna say bye?
Bye.
Yeah, I know everything will get better. I know it will. I have faith in God. I know God got my back. You gotta go through the storm before you get through the good weather. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. You guys have a blessed night. I know I will. Peace.